Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Mission Matters. My name is Adam Torres, and if you'd like to apply to be a guest on the show, just head on over to missionmatters.com and click on Be Our Guest to apply. All right, so today, as part of our Milken Global Conference coverage series, where we're bringing you the best of attendees, of guests, of VIPs, panelists, speakers, and all kinds of individuals that attended the Milken Global Conference in Beverly Hills, which is one of my favorite conferences of the year. And today we have Nati Katz on the line, and he's a show host over at TLV NYC, which is on Channel 10, which broadcasts from Wall Street. First thing, Nati, welcome to the show.
Adam, thank you so much for having me here. It's great to be with you.
All right. So first thing first, Milken Global Conference. I know you were there this year. Have you been in the past? Is this your first time? I mean, give us just some of your background and history with the conference.
Yeah, certainly have been in the past. It's not my first time, but like you said, it's one of your favorite conferences of the year. It's definitely one of my favorites. And the thing is, in the past, I had the pleasure and privilege of accompanying some major CEOs. So, I come from the PR world originally, and I've accompanied a variety of CEOs, primarily in technology, who attended the conference. And at that point, first of all, I got a firsthand exposure to just how dynamic it is and the level of meetings and interactions that CEOs are having. And on that side of the spectrum, I used to facilitate the meetings with media and press personnel on behalf of the executives and CEOs that I was accompanying. But in addition to that, I also had the privilege of sitting in on many of the panels and keynotes. And I'll tell you a little secret. A lot of these CEOs are super busy, and they come in sometimes for just a day and leave. And I would opt to stay behind just to enjoy the show.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's one of the reasons, I set it aside on my calendar every year, and it's a fun time. What I also noticed, and I don't know if you've noticed this, so happy to have you chime in, but over time it becomes kind of like a community. Like you see some of the same people, and it's just like this thing, you're walking through the halls, you're like, wait a minute, how you been? It just kind of builds. Have you had any of that experience?
100%. It's such a high-profile, event that brings in some of the most important decision makers. But even the decision makers, they come in. There's sometimes the mingling happens in the green room, sometimes at the official networking session.
Yeah.
But here's the other thing I could say about Milken. I tend to also go a few months before that to Davos, right, in Switzerland for the World Economic event. Well, there's a major difference because sometimes these same people go to both. And in Davos, it's like January, okay? So everybody's just speculating how the year's going to roll out. And here we are at Milken in May, and everybody actually has a firm agenda of how it's going and how it's going to continue to go. So I found that the conversations and interactions are extremely productive and very effective at Milken. And so aside of just the business, the play and business go well. The interactions over happy hours and other networking sessions, people really, like you say, they catch up with one another, just having fun. There's a lot of fun, and it's probably not a circumstance that it's in LA and Beverly Hills. The whole atmosphere is just extremely energizing.
I completely agree. And now let's switch it up a bit. I want to get into some of your work and what you're doing with this first and only financial and business news network in Israel. And some may argue, it's the streaming era. Where do you stand? Like talk to us about your work and what you're working on.
Yeah, and this is just phenomenal that it happened. Even if it's late, it's better late than never. But look, anyone who follows technology, anyone who follows the investment trajectories of finance has probably had Israel as a market and as a country on their radar. And Israel has evolved into what everybody knows as a startup nation. A lot of the tech and innovation that we use, either directly or embedded in larger platforms that acquired them, stems from the Israeli brain power. And so 77 years into the country's establishment, and you still didn't have a fully devoted financial and business network in Israel.
Which is interesting to me, by the way. I didn't know that when I was kind of looking at it. I'm like, wow, really? Okay, go continue.
Well, here's the thing. Things are so intense and so serious that you have multiple regular news networks, obviously. There's plenty to cover. There's plenty that's going on. But business and finance, no. Maybe they have a little, maybe one show. Maybe there's like a business reporter in each of the networks, but not a fully devoted network. And so 2 years in the works, a very good friend of mine, who's a really reputable journalist himself, used to be the editor-in-chief of Business Week when it was owned by McGraw-Hill, but not the overall Business Week. There was an Israel edition back in like '08. He was the editor-in-chief. So he's always kind of very well, in proximity and central to the Israeli finance and business and journalism arena. This is his brainchild. This is his vision. He's had this vision for very long. But in the last 2 years, he actually had the chance to materialize on this. And so January of 25, this network finally got off the ground. And one of his, kind of more specific visions is to connect New York and Tel Aviv in a way that really resonates with viewers and compels viewers. And so that's how he kind of envisioned this show called TLV NYC, which is, of course, Tel Aviv, New York. And it also has a very innovative and pioneering concept behind it. And that is, believe it or not, it's a show that actually is broadcast in parallel between Tel Aviv and New York. So I share my show with the Tel Aviv studio. There's a different host on the Tel Aviv side, and I sit in New York with my co-host here, Tal Heinrich, who many know as well. I sit in Wall Street, they sit in Tel Aviv, and for 90 minutes, we just ping-pong back and forth on the most important matters of that market today and other big news.
Wow, I love it. I love the concept. It makes total sense to me. And it reminds me of this interview I did. I mean, it was speaking of milk, and it was with William Lee. So he was, I don't know for certain, this was back in I think 2023, maybe 2022, when I interviewed him, and he was talking about one of the ways that he was a chief economist for the Milken Institute, and he was talking about, when he first knew that he was going to be part of this thing, or when he really followed Michael Milken's work, was when he was looking to raise the funding for the first, 24-hour kind of news network, and everybody thought he was crazy, and they're like, fast forward, this is how we have CNN. Right. So when I capture a story like this, I'm always excited because of it. I could trace it to the root. And I feel like one of the fun part about what we do in capturing these stories is looking back and being like, man, I remember this or I remember that. So it's going to be fun as I see this thing grow. I'll be an old man, God willing, one day and telling my kids this up to I remember when that channel
when that started.
Yeah, I was talking
from the trenches. From the trenches. It's really trenches. Everybody could attest to it because, at first you've seen newsrooms and control rooms and you gotta improvise. It's not going to just land on you like that. And they put a lot of resources into it, and they created a state-of-the-art environment, both the studios as well as the control room, the newsrooms, everything's state-of-the-art, but still you're at your infancy. And you have to introduce yourself, and you have to explain why is this and what is this. People are not used to kind of a new kid on the block.
And so how do you think, I'm just curious from your PR side and your track record in media, how do you think all of this combines to now what you're doing? Because it just seems like a great path in career and a shot at something really, really interesting.
Thank you. Yeah, I have a genuine passion for this. And the thing is, I actually started off dabbling in journalism very early on. That didn't last long, very early on. I'm talking when I thought that my media career should evolve into journalism. And very quickly, Adam, I realized that I actually want to help shape the story, not just report the story. And that's when I moved to PR. And as you said, 25 years later, I'm very grateful I had the privilege of supporting so many sides of companies, startups and large companies, Fortune 100 companies. Most of my career, I served these companies as part of agency environments, and those included large agencies like Burson Marsteller and then boutique PR firms. And so in this career chapter thus far, I've come to see the dynamics that help shape narratives, shape a story, perception, for sure executive visibility. And so when my dear friend, Eran Bartal is his name, approached me about the channel, I'm like, sure, I'm absolutely in, because, I know how viewers would get most excited, most inspired. And that's important today. You mentioned the streaming world. It's not a given. We're all vying for attention from viewers, from listeners. And they have so many platforms they could go to. What are you giving them? And it's really about them. It's not about the host anymore. It's barely about the guest. It's really about the viewer and the listener and what you're giving them. And so putting that all together, understanding what makes a good story, I think hopefully serves me well in shaping, soundbite stories now on a smaller scale show that's almost daily.
Yeah. That's great. Well, Nati, this has been a lot of fun having you on the show and learning more about your work, and I'm excited to continue to watch the growth of Channel 10 and continue to see the entire project rise, which I think it will. So that being said, if somebody's listening or watching this and they want to follow up or learn more or to connect and watch your content and follow your journey, how do they do that?
Yeah, thank you. Well, I'm on LinkedIn. Very happy to welcome and meet new contacts. I'm on LinkedIn. I'm on Instagram. People could absolutely tune into the show. It's TV10, so the TV and the number 10.co.il. They'll find great content there all day long, but certainly our show, which airs daily from 3 p.m. to 4:30 p.m. Eastern Time, and we're at Wall Street, so we're also very much welcoming guests constantly.
Wonderful. And for everybody listening to this, just so you know, we'll definitely put some links in the show notes so you can connect and watch the content. And speaking to the audience, if this is your first time with Mission Matters and you haven't done it yet, hit that subscribe or follow button. This is a daily show. Each and every day we're bringing you new ideas, new content, and hopefully new inspiration to help you along the way in your journey as well. So again, hit that subscribe or follow button. And Nati, thanks again for coming on the show.
Adam, thank you. It was a pleasure.